Trustee meeting for April 17th, 2023. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pope? Here. Mr. Shively?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here.
Acceptance of the minutes from the February 20th, 2023 regular meeting.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
I'll second.
Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope? Yay. Mr. Shively?
Yay.
Mr. King?
Yay.
All right, everybody get to look over the invoices.
I did, and also move on the invoices.
I'll second that. Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope? Yay. Mr. Shively?
Yay.
Mr. King?
Yay.
Moving along to the sheriff's report. Evening, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen.
All right, we are dealing with the reports taken in March of this year, and we had 1 breaking and entering, 6 thefts, 2 identity fraud reports, 1 receiving stolen property, 3 criminal damagings. We had 1 illegal use of a minor and nudity-oriented materials report, 2 domestic violences, 3 assaults, 1 drug possession, 1 restrictions on depositing litter, which is a fancy way of saying unlawful dumping, 3 aided cases, and 4 other non-criminal reports. This brought our grand total up to 28, 15 of which were closed, 13 of which are still active. There were 20 by way in comparison taken in February. We had 24 auto crashes in the township. We had 21 in February, and then we had 399 calls for service as opposed to 327 in February. So our slight uptick is in play here as the weather warms, so will the activity, so not entirely unusual. And that is my report.
You got any questions for me?
I do not. Thank you, sir.
I don't have anything for you.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe
Yes, sir.
out there.
All right, going on to public presentations. Mindy? Good evening.
I'm just going to follow up with you guys in regards to some of the things that's going on down around Miami Town. The sign that I talked to you guys about, not the last meeting, but the meeting before, we're still getting quotes on that township sign, not township, but Miami Town sign that we wanted to put up. We're still getting quotes from different companies before we actually give you a drawing and stuff of what it would look like. We do have the measurements for the sign that finally went in. They're using an existing sign that we have, so it's going to be cheaper, and just place the marquee on it. But the group, MICA, Miami Town Improvement Civic Association, wanted more quotes to see if we could get some lower bids. So before I turn that into you. Then it has been brought to my attention several times by some people who actually walk through Miami Town on a daily basis that some of the sidewalks they're raised in some areas, lowered in others, where they're kind of splitting up from either water running under them or age. There's even in front of down by across from the bank, that one's getting kind of severe there. It's eroding away from the old gun store. There's like no sidewalk in some of the areas. Some areas look great, other areas don't. So if we could just get you guys to go down and look at them and see if they could be skimmed or if some areas could be fixed, just to make it better for residents and people who visit Miami Town, people going to the restaurants.
You got something to add for that?
Is it on
Not
your
to cut
thing?
you off, but he's eagerly.
He's the guy for it. So.
Yeah.
On the sidewalks, I just spoke with ODOT a week ago, and they're still investigating who is responsible for the sidewalks. Meaning, like, if you live in a subdivision and you buy a house, you're responsible for your portion of the sidewalk. If your lot's 60 feet wide, you are responsible for repairing that. They don't know who, if it be the owners or ODOT. So again, we're just waiting to hear back who's responsible for the repairs of the sidewalk.
What's the chances of it would be Whitewater Township?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if the township worked with ODOT years ago to put in sidewalks, and maybe there was something put in writing. That's what they're looking for now.
Well,
So that's kind of where we lay when
Yeah.
it comes to the sidewalk issue.
yeah, that's good, thanks, yeah.
The Pet Palooza is scheduled for the 24th from 10 to 4. It's going pretty good. We've already got almost 20 crafters and vendors signed up, 2 organizations for adoptions. We did not offer electricity. However, Wes from the Pest Pro is going to donate his electric towards the grandstand. So we're not going to ask the township for any use of that. So the information that I just talked to you about in regards to that Hope House, I'm being emailed a copy of a check that I will give you so that you can follow up on it. And a good question came up. We would like to know exactly what the borders are for the different, like Miamitown. What is Miamitown's borders? Where does it start? Where does it begin? Where does Hooven start? Where does it end? Where does, mailing addresses is Cleves all the way through there, but that's not Whitewater Township. Do you guys actually have a map that says what Blue Jay is, what Miamitown is, that breaks Whitewater Township up?
I don't think there's one for, Blue Jay would be like, that's just kind of something everybody made up, right? I mean, that's not a true,
Blue Jay is actually a census tract.
it is?
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
it is.
we're kind of saying that we go up to, there's a sign right there at Sims Dog Park, and then you go down, we kind of like say that we go almost to Brad Day's business, which is Precision Wall, and then you go up Harrison Avenue. The road is now eluding me, that right before Blue Jay. Yeah, we kind of say that's Miamitown, but we don't really know.
Since it's an unincorporated community, does it really have boundaries?
I mean, Hooven is down there. Where does Hooven and Miamitown meet?
They,
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because
See, the look on your faces
When
is
I-
exactly what was on my
Yeah.
face when everybody asked me.
when I watch on that map app or whatever my wife's got me on, it has Hooven way down almost to Morgan Road. And I'm like,
Yeah.
she's in Hooven, but I'm way
Yeah.
over here. And so that's a good point. I don't know.
to best of my knowledge, there are no dividing lines. There are no definitive, you're in, you're out.
We've asked some of the businesses, what do you consider yourself? That's where we kind of got our
Right.
information from, that I'm, where I say it goes down to Brad Day, because he kind of considers himself and advertises as Miamitown. Just right on that big church, they say they're Cleves, because that's their mailing address. But they're really,
I like the idea. I
mean,
would
we-
like to know
yeah.
too, I guess. I mean,
We would like to put up signs that
I
say,
mean,
welcome to Miamitown,
look
but where do we
around.
start?
I think everybody just kind of look around. I don't know.
Get the post office to have a
Grab a whole
mail
lot. I
route, and
really
then we'll
don't know.
find out.
Well,
the post office don't.
Miamitown,
hang out
Well,
around
That's why I
them.
say get them
Yeah.
down.
Post office, we got North Bend.
we got Cleves, most of it is Cleves down through there.
Town and
Yeah,
Cleves. And,
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's a good point. I don't know.
So how do we figure it out?
Don't know. So I'm
Okay.
saying, see what you can find out. I
Yeah.
think it's,
Unless there was some line somewhere, like, actually.
I mean.
Why would they put
here's-
the lines?
I'm not,
up?
I mean, he's been around a lot. I don't know.
Would there be a reason for them to put the lines? Because there's no, like, different in taxes or different, it'd be different if, like, Miamitown got extra taxes
Do
for
you
people
know
who live there.
anything when you're out there?
I know we have our township boundaries, from Whitewater to Harrison.
Right.
But when it comes to Hooven, Miamitown, County,
Blue Jay, and that's a good point.
I don't know why there would be boundaries, because there's no need for boundaries.
we always just thought Miamitown is the town, is the subdivision, is the town of Miamitown.
Well, Miamitown, according to the state of Ohio, doesn't exist, because they actually came down when we had our celebration and gave us a plaque for not existing because we're not on their radar. So he gave us a,
Original towns were
yeah.
platted. We have that information. Yeah, the running joke growing up in E-Town was that the welcome to and now leaving sign were
Was the same
printed on the
sign?
same
Yeah.
time.
Well, a lot of people think Miamitown is just that 3-block radius, but all the business owners, you go down under the highway and everything, they consider themselves Miamitown. Yeah. So, they told us that we wasn't a cove, we wasn't a town, we wasn't anything when we had the state Ohio representative come down.
I mean, I think it's interesting, because, I mean, I like what you're doing. I mean, while you're here, I think it's interesting. And I'm glad you're
Because
pushing it, 'cause I don't know.
yeah, we like to put up a sign that says, "Welcome to Miamitown," but we don't know where.
Where you begin and where you
Yeah.
end.
Okay. And then I heard a rumor that the school sold in Miamitown again. Have you guys heard this? That Tom Rademan sold it? Okay.
That's on tonight.
Oh, right, then I won't ask my question.
Yeah.
I'll wait to hear. That's actually all I have. So, thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We have an event, a fashion show going on. It's the 4th time in Miamitown, the first weekend in June, so I have some flyers here for the
Can
community
we put
center.
that on our website, I guess?
All right. Is that it? Anybody got any questions for her?
I do not.
Thanks, Mindy.
I do not. Thank you.
It's going to be interesting to try to look into that, honestly. Moving on to township reports. Fire Department, Chief.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Good evening.
Just to kind of add on to the Hooven Miamitown, we have always gone by the zip codes. So wherever the zip code is, like in Hooven, it's just the town of Hooven. That is what we've always considered Hooven. Miamitown, just the town of Miamitown with its own zip code. In E-Town, that's kind of how we've always tracked them statistically. I mean, I've been around for almost 30 years, and that's how we've always done it, was just wherever the zip code was, that was considered Miamitown, whoever had the Miamitown zip code. So, well, that's going by like Google Maps and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a whole different, because to get to Hooven, a lot of times you have to put Cleves in. If you're using Google Maps and stuff like that. Cleves. I mean, it's still Whitewater Township, but it's a Cleves mailing address. And that's what we have a hard time explaining to people, is Riverview Crossing is in Whitewater Township, but it has a Harrison mailing address. You know, we've had residents over the years, well, I thought I lived in Harrison. Well, no, you just have a Harrison mailing address. You live in Whitewater Township. So for statistics, that's what we've always done, is we've gone by the zip codes. So anything between Miamitown and Hooven, it's along 128, you're Whitewater Township, but you're a Cleves mailing address. Well, you're in an unincorporated area, basically. So,
Yeah.
so that's, you belong to Whitewater Township. So just to kind of give you a little bit more information, that's how we've done it over the years for tracking statistics and stuff like that. Our run total for the month of March 2023, we had 72 EMS details with 71 patients. 55 of those were transported, 37 fire details for 109 details for the month of March, and 230 details for the year 2023 so far. I'll skip through the middle part there unless you have any questions about any of that specifically. Our staffing for the month of March, no station closures. Our paramedic staffing with our Whitewater Township paramedics was at 100%. And you can see the different percentages there. It was down a little bit compared to last month, I believe. But we are still roughly right around 2 paramedics per day of our paramedics, the Whitewater Township firefighter medics. And we are still using WestJet, of course, to supplement our paramedic coverage. So we conducted a pre-employment test for part-time applicants on April 6th. Well, we attempted to. We had 2 out of the 5 applicants show up, and we did reschedule a test for tomorrow. And as of right now, none of the applicants are showing up. So just trying to figure out what we're going to do with that, with our part-time, reaching out to part-time people and trying to get them in for testing. It's becoming more and more difficult. I just think it's not a priority. It's like they want the job, but they don't want to take the time to show up for the testing. There's always a schedule conflict or something or other. So, actually working on something with a national testing service to where they do their own scheduling for taking the pre-employment test and everything. So it's basically all on the applicant. We do not have to set up anything regarding the testing. It's already established. It's already set up. We just basically post it, open the testing times, close the testing times, and we go from there. So that's kind of what we're looking at with the future. We're definitely going to do that for full-time, and part-time is what I'm leaning towards. It just a little less aggravation with trying to set it up and all that good stuff. So basically what it comes down to is we do depend on part-time employees, but however the relying on that is growing smaller and smaller. Just the part-time pool is shrinking. They're not out there, and we need to really focus on making a move to increasing our full-time staff. So with the full-time staff, I have received notification from one of our full-time firefighter paramedics. His last day will be this Friday, April 21st. He has accepted another full-time position with another department on the east side. And as I stated, currently working with the National Testing Network to establish a pre-employment testing process to get that position posted and filled using their service. One of the nice things about the National Testing Network is when we post the job description and they post it, it's on their website, it's on their Facebook page, and it's nationwide. I'm not saying we're going to get applications from California, Oregon, stuff like that, but there's more exposure for the position and stuff like that, so hopefully that will draw in more candidates for that position. In the upcoming weeks, crews will be out on the roads checking and flushing fire hydrants, so if you see them in the area, please be cautious where the crews are working. Flushing the hydrants may briefly discolor your water if you turn your water on in your homes. Just let the water run for a few minutes and it should clear up. And again, I'm not going to go into all this again, but just a reminder on the open burning, it is still prohibited during the month of April, May, October, November during the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. And that is all I have at this time, unless there's any other questions.
I don't have anything. You guys got anything?
I have one thing. The engineer that looked at the floor,
In Miami Town.
he wrote up just explaining what we need to do, what we need to look at. He gave me 2 copies of the letter. I just received it. I'll give you a copy.
Okay.
And he recommends that we meet again with Josh and do some chipping away at the loose stuff to expose more to really assess it. He said it's not an emergency. It's not structurally in any dire need, but it needs to be fixed sooner than later.
And you're talking about from the underneath with
From the underneath,
yeah,
the
with
front.
the
He
rebar.
said the part that is the little sunken area, he said that's minor, that's not a big deal. He said the front part is more important than that spot.
Yeah, we were aware of that, and we were under the presumption that redoing that bay floor and keeping the water from getting down to the lower level would slow down that rebar expanding and busting that concrete out.
Right,
So yeah,
and
we
it
were
has.
aware that was happening.
Yeah, and he mentioned that in his initial report here.
Okay.
So we're working on that. I don't know as far as, he said his he'd be willing to do the work, and he told me have Josh do a lot of the stuff ahead of time to, cut it, but there's really not a good way to get a quote or a bid or a price on this, because it has to be the engineer that looks at it, and it has to be done by an engineer. So we'll have him look at it, and we'll go further and see if he can give us a ballpark.
Yeah, I would hate to have Josh down there working and just give us a quote and give us a bid. I don't want to put Josh, he's got other things coming up.
Yeah.
Putting Josh out there like that, down there chipping away and not knowing if he's even doing it right, when you're going to have an engineer come in and.
Yeah, we're going to meet again and
Yeah.
look at it
I
again
think
and
we
further.
just put it all out on the table instead of having Josh down there
Yeah.
chipping away at
And
things.
Enough stuff going on.
Right.
In my understanding too, is one of those projects is you don't know how far into the concrete the rebar is bad. So it's one of those projects, once you
Right.
get into it, you just keep going until you don't
Without
find
chipping
bad
away-
rebar.
Yeah, without chipping away, there's
Yeah.
no way to get bids on or even know what it's going to be, what it's going to involve. It's kind of a tear into it and fix it as you go and see what you get.
And I guess that's why I'm not an engineer, because I'm more concerned with the active water leak in the center of the building. When we wash down trucks or whatever,
You're
we,
thinking about the sinking part. And
right,
they're
yeah, I'm
worried
more
about the
concerned
other.
about that part, and he's more
Right.
concerned about the front, which
Yeah.
we've kind of slowed down and
I'm
taken
with
care
you.
of,
I would
but
be the same way.
I guess that's not why I'm
Why
an
is it
engineer.
sinking and they're
Yeah.
worried
Yeah,
about
he quoted the ODOT codes and everything for the iron and the concrete, and it's all quoted in here, and so
All right, keep us informed.
we'll do.
You got anything else for me?
No, I do not.
I do not. Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Moving on to the maintenance department. Boss?
Once again, the township cleanup, annual township cleanup will be held April 29th from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. or until full. We will have 10 general trash containers, 2 tire dumpsters, 1 scrap dumpster. We will not be accepting any gas, oils, paint, or batteries. There will also be a container in Miamitown behind the church on Front Street for general trash only. The Community Development Block Grant, Peggy and I are working on the last part of the community, or CDBG, for the years of 21-23. This part of the grant will be used to repave the senior center parking lot, and looking at the lot, there's quite a few failing areas, and it has reached its life expectancy. We are told that this project cannot start before the 1st of July, and as soon as we have more information, we'll pass it on to the board. That's really all I have. Changed the dump truck out, put the salt away.
Good,
I was kind of happy about that.
good.
Yeah, how that's gonna go. I mentioned it last year. We got
You're
6
right,
inches.
you're right.
That's
You
what,
got
that,
anything else for Josh?
I have nothing.
No, looks good. Thanks,
okay,
Josh.
thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Moving along to community center. Attendance for 3:15 of 23 to 4:07 of 23. Euchre during the day was 79. Euchre on Fridays was 108. Chair volleyball was 27. Bluegrass was 156, and country music was 26, for a total of 396. The rentals, April, 0 for the shelter, 1 for the center. May, the shelter is closed, and the center has 0 right now. Just a reminder, programs available, if you want any ideas on that. Just a reminder, if you want to have any questions about available programs at the senior center, chair volleyball, euchre, bluegrass, or country music, call 513-367-6046 for more information. And as always, we're always looking for new ideas for programs for the center. If anyone has any thoughts, please contact Carolyn at 367-6046.
Whoever typed that needs to do a better job.
No, that's my ADHD. I was reading the paragraph, next
You know, I
paragraph,
know.
instead of I was combining. You guys have anything else on that?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, the committee reports. Township Regional Water and Sewer.
The sewer district has held 2 open house informational type meetings for people that we're going to acquire easements from along State Route 128. They've been somewhat sparsely attended, so either that means that people are happy with what's going on, or they don't have any questions, or they don't believe it's really happening, but I'm sorry. So we've had the two meetings for those. We'll have one more open house type informational meeting an hour before our next regular meeting. That's next Tuesday, what is next Tuesday? The 25th. So if anybody has questions about what's going on, they're welcome to come to that or attend the meeting. Just the next step in the process. So
I'm kind of not believing it's moving forward either myself. I hate to say that, knock on wood.
well, hopefully this will all be for naught. We're already talking with MSD about a couple other future projects. So the folks at MSD are, I think, realizing that it's easier for us to accomplish some things, and they're willing to work with us more now than ever. So things are looking good.
That's good.
So
That's good.
that's all I have.
Anybody else have anything? Questions?
I do not.
No questions? All right. Economic development?
Economic development. To piggyback off of what Jim Brett is saying, I got a phone call from Steve Cantor, so I have not talked to Steve Cantor in almost a year, maybe a year and a half. Steve Cantor is the engineer working with the Regional Water and Sewer District, and he had a lot of good news. He felt good about the way things are moving. I know it really bothered him, especially when I had to end up stepping down. And so that was good to hear from Steve, because he's been a part of this from the beginning. I mean, from day one, Jim, right? When Jim Brett and actually Guy's dad's the one that put me in that position. So, I mean, that's how long ago it was. So that's good news. And just to reiterate, I know that board is short. A lot is getting ready to happen with economic development. We, as a township, need help with that board, correct?
Absolutely.
We need help. So if anybody out there knows anybody, please have them get on board with that. This is really going to take off. A lot of things are going to happen, especially down that Miami-town area. You know, I think, you know, everything you're doing, Mindy, is perfect. Everything's coming kind of together here. Guy, I know as long as you've been a trustee, is like, you know, he's been hearing this. I think as long as, Willie, you've been on here, you've been hearing this is moving forward. And so, you know, Steve called. I was glad, you know, Steve feels good about it. That just reassures me that Jim and the rest of the board feel good about it. So I know there's other economic development stuff. I don't know if we want to talk about it. But, you know, I think we need some help with that water and sewer in order for that economic development stuff to move forward.
It's great.
I can just mention that you know, Doug was originally coming to the meeting with Ready Cincinnati and Salhorse Development into their division, and the Cincinnati Ready people had a conflict and had to cancel, so we did get together last week. They were, I think, pleasantly surprised to find that much acreage adjacent to an interstate access. I think the Salhorse building that they're building is like 37 or 4,500 square or 45,000 square feet. And they said a lot of what they're seeing interest in this area is between that 45 and 90,000 square foot. So the pads that they have down there, the layout they have would accommodate that easily. But they're also keeping an eye out for them for projects that may want the whole place. So there was good news from that. They were, it was really nice to learn a little bit about what they do. You know, you can go to all the meetings you want and sit in all the webinars the past 2 years, but when you get them out on site and they're looking at something and, you know, talking about it, it turned out to be a better way to learn what they actually do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I think the whole key to this, when you talk about economic development, is development. It's finally starting to develop, because otherwise you have nothing until, you know,
Starts going.
it starts going.
Well, and if you get the right things going, then it starts.
Correct. Yeah,
Even Miami Town, I mean, you see a couple things come in,
sure,
and then it starts rolling the right direction, right? You get a
Yeah.
couple people and everything.
sure.
A couple properties start going in, and it starts heading in the right
Yeah.
direction, so.
Yeah, if you don't take an interest, nothing's ever gonna happen. It'll just sit still. We'll never know where Miami Town and Hooven and E-Town begins and ends, you know, right.
And later in our agenda is one of our major steps
Right.
in economic development for Miami Town. So,
Good work, everybody, honestly.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Moving on to We Thrive.
We Thrive, we had a meeting tonight prior to the township meeting. We discussed the upcoming cleanup day, and Sharon and Mindy got together for make sure they're both on the same page for this weekend's litter getter program. If anybody's able to help out, can contact Sharon at Green Acres or Mindy. Contact Peggy. She can get in touch with them. And then we also discussed the possibility of a fall cleanup day for hazardous materials, and we're working to find out what we can do about. I know we still have some opioid money in the budget that we could have a drug take back program then in the fall also, because I've had quite a few people asking me about where they can take old prescriptions to. So that's in the works right now to get approval. We need approval from the board to proceed with that, with the fall cleanup day. So I don't know if you want to discuss it now, or if you want to hold that for new business.
I
or-
remember back when we had those fall clean. Correct. Yeah, I'm going to cover that. I read all that. So we used to do that fall cleanup day, and it was pretty good, wasn't it? I mean, it kind of helped out people who didn't get the things till the fall, and it became a money issue, if I remember correctly, with Josh and Peggy. It became a money issue, and I think if the money's there, I would like to see us do it, because Peggy sent out the email that there's some grants that I think was the 5 communities received. They chose 5 communities for this grant funding about getting rid of hazardous waste, and we were one of the communities, but it was too soon for us to attach it to the spring. And and I agree with Peggy, the way she wrote it up is, instead of just opening the door, because people would not understand, is if we could attach it somehow and do a fall, and maybe even attach what you're talking about, the bringing in the old prescription drugs. And if we have the money to do it, I think this might be the year so we can do the hazardous waste, because people end up with some of these things they can't get rid of. And it gives us time to kind of lay it out for everybody of where we would do it. I know you mentioned in there that they were talking about other communities bringing things in. I think we wait and see if we pull off this. Okay, so you already got an answer for that, because your email did not. So other communities cannot bring in their hazardous waste. So, I mean, and I'll make a motion that we do the fall as long as we have the funding, because of how successful it has been in the past. Plus, we have 2 other opportunities to add things to it to help out the community any way we can. So.
I'll second it, as long as, I mean, there was just some question about getting it all together, but one of them was if somebody else could bring in the stuff. I had read your email too, so as long as all that stuff pans out. Like there's nothing
Yeah,
in
and
there
kind of
sketchy.
lay out, as long as we lay out everything in order of how we would do it, and how we would man things, and what goes in what, and so, yeah.
I second. Voice vote?
Mr. Pope,
Yay.
Mr. Scheibling,
Yay.
and Mr. King.
Yay. Yeah, that's a good one.
Don't have anything else for that? Anybody got any questions?
I do not.
Solid waste, there's really nothing on that. No news is good news, but I'm sure it's right around the corner. I don't know. I've not heard anything, so. On to West Chad?
We had a West Jad meeting last Thursday. Very uneventful, business as usual. Things are going well with West Jad. I know one of the topics we discussed was actually putting money into CDs to make more interest. So West Jad now is with the staffing working together with our chief and the Crosby chief and Chief Swift. They've been able to financially get, I'll say, healed, and to the point where they can put a little money into CDs to earn some interest. And so everything's going real well. It's doing good.
Just a note, if you haven't put the money in CDs yet, the STAR funds are available to West Chad as an organization.
Okay.
We made a tad over 5% last month on that money.
I think he
and
was
it's readily available.
Yeah, I think he was given 5% from, it's not, Miami Town Savings, I think.
Miami
Yeah,
Savings.
Miami Town Savings.
Yeah.
I drew a blank there for a
Yeah,
second.
that's what it is. You're right.
But yeah, Bob's already transferred and got it.
Okay.
He had one CD already open, and he opened a second one and already made $300 or $400, and he was happy. So anyhow, that's all I've got to report for West Shad.
Okay. Anybody else, nothing else?
Nope.
All right, moving on to old business, the limited home rules ballot, initiative information meeting dates. I know there was one that was set. It says dates, but I know we were just working on the first one, right? I know we were going back and forth on conflict on when we could have that. I got it written down.
So the date that Brian Pacheco, our legal counsel, was available, that everybody else seemed to be available, was May the 25th. He's available at 5, has to be out of here at 6 unless the village now. The village that he has to attend their meeting typically cancels their second meeting of the month.
Okay.
So he said he could stick around longer if it's
Busy.
if they cancel their meeting. Otherwise, he'll be here from 5 to 6 to answer questions. We probably should set a time like 5 to 7, maybe.
So 5 o'clock it'll start.
Yeah, and if you don't set an end time, somebody will stay forever.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's do 5 to 7.
Can we, is it too, can we still get something out like in the mail? Man, I really want to get it out to everybody so people have the opportunity to come in and, I'm just afraid.
Well, sure we do. Hey,
I mean, we had talked about doing that. Is there something, you think we could put that together fast enough? All right, I'll think about it.
just, yeah.
The simpler the better, but it's,
Just do something simple and you could have that out, Peggy, by the end of next week, couldn't you? Well, I mean, you could do cleanup day. Are you talking about doing a mailer?
mailer, I was talking about doing a mailer. Just go out. Because then we can put on there that, because we can do it live too, right? Because we're going to have it in here, correct?
Yeah, and we can,
And the camera will pick it all up good enough. So, I mean, even if somebody's at home and wanted to watch it, I just really want people to understand what it is. Because I think some people, if they don't understand what it is, they start getting nervous about it. And sometimes people, if they don't know, they just say no.
So here's the question, and I agree with what Trustee Shibley's saying. So if we got this out at least by May 4th or 5th, probably the 4th. That still gives you 3 whole weeks for people to get it. Sooner the better. Is that possible, Peggy? I don't want to make it. So that would give you 2.5 weeks to get everything. I mean, I think that would be okay if people got it by that, May 8th, 9th, 10th, something like that. It's not till the 25th.
Let me think about it a day or two, kind of, and then I'll come down and we'll
Get something
brainstorm and see if we can.
Put something together.
I just want it to be simple and bold to get it, so, because I don't want them to just throw it away either.
Well, I tried to put together a little fact sheet, which I included in your packet,
I did see that.
because Peggy and I talked about this on the way up to the auditors conference, and my short fact sheet ended up being 3 pages long.
And it's got to be one that we send out.
But what I'm
It's gonna
saying,
be
well,
a
how about,
postcard that people will
you
look
could
at.
put the
Start,
fact,
right.
we could put the fact sheet on the website, right?
Yeah,
So we could put just real simple on the card, if you want, the fact sheet is available on the website. If they want to just go there and just look at the fact sheet themselves, and then,
I have a narrative that the Ohio Township Association has regarding home rule as well. So I thought we could put that, we can put this information sheet on there. As you can tell, brevity is not a strong point for me, so,
I think I think it's fine.
you guys putting together the
No,
postcard is probably better than me.
Well, it would be easy, and if we put that on there, like, you can come to the meeting, you can go to the website and read it yourself, or, you could watch it live and listen to everybody's questions on there.
And then we
Yeah.
talked about the timing to get it on the ballot and things. We should probably have that on the website as well. So, and if you're gonna hold another open house type thing between now and then, you should probably set that so we can put on there, this date or this date,
Let's see how it goes on the first one, and if we get enough people,
Right.
have a second.
have a second. and
Let's
then-
shoot for the May 25th, if you can get it out that week from May 1st to May 5th, I think it is, in that week. That's plenty of time. That gives
Yeah.
you 2.5 weeks, put something together, get it mailed, and, yeah, I think we should.
And then they can always just call in with any questions too.
I mean, if you get anything a month and a half in advance, it goes in garbage anyway, to be closer to the time, people
Yeah.
will actually see it. And
And I don't mind if
Is-
anybody
is-
calls with questions. I mean,
Right.
if I don't know the answer, I'll
and if
find
we
it.
can get it on the website, we can steer them to read something on our website of,
Just a card, I
just a
think.
card, something simple, and then
Yeah.
steer them to the website. So you're gonna have 2 things going on, is what I think.
Yeah.
You're gonna have the card, and you're gonna have to update the website.
Yeah.
Jim, probably what you have here, I like what you have, but we can't mail all that.
Yeah, I definitely
Nobody's
like
gonna
what he
read it
has, but,
anyway.
yeah,
Right,
that's,
right.
yeah, it was just,
Well, I did, I went through.
we'd be sending out books.
Yeah, right.
And nobody's gonna, honestly, most people won't take the time to read.
Right.
And
But-
some people will read it and get
but
kinda
it's-
confused. I'd rather them call, because then you
Yeah.
can kind of, or come to the meeting.
Right.
And then you can kind of explain it. It's a good thing. I don't want it to go down because people don't know what it is.
Exactly.
Is there any possibility of grandfathering? Nobody would be grandfathered.
It's not,
Like a nuisance on 128, the house, that would be grandfathered.
No, once it goes into effect, it just,
yeah, it's not
No.
really like, some
Yeah.
people, one person said, is it like zoning? I'm like, no, it's nothing
No.
like zoning. It's nothing, nowhere even, it's nothing like that.
I know the reason for passing is like cleanup and stuff like that. I just wanted to-
yeah.
Well, it's also,
Properties.
it also helps in like businesses coming in and kind of having a little finger on what's coming in, or, it helps on that a little bit too.
Yeah.
It does a lot of little things.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the joint economic districts, and the community development is where it really,
They won't be able to say, well, it's been like this for years, so.
No.
No.
But we also, it's not like you're just gonna be able, it's not like you're just gonna be able to walk down there and be like, hey, it's not like that, but it helps some without. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's why I
Yeah.
want people to come, because
Yes.
everybody that has mentioned it to me that's heard about it, this first thing is just like zoning. No, it has not, it's nothing like zoning. It's nothing like that. Yes, trust me. I don't think anybody here is
and then
even
when
likes
we're,
that word.
when we're putting this on our webpage, I don't know if maybe I dropped the ball, maybe I'm supposed to be updating our webpage, but there's a lot of old stuff on the website still. I was looking through it, fall stuff, fall dates, and we need to, I don't know. Okay,
Then it drops.
yeah.
No, because unless the township would adopt a property maintenance code, it has nothing to do with properties. It allows the board to adopt a property maintenance code, but unless you adopt one, then
Can we make sure, I mean, that is a good question. I'm going to say no because of the home rule,
And-
I understand, but can we really make sure, because that's going to come up in
That
May
is-
25th?
Definitely one of the
That's why we're gonna have the attorney here for
Yeah.
the first meeting is to,
Good
so he
question.
can
I mean,
address
I'm going to say
these.
no because of how I understand it.
Yeah,
but, I mean, I'm not an attorney either, but, yeah, oh, absolutely. yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah,
No. Yeah.
so it would assist in when the board would declare a nuisance property. It would make that process go a little easier.
correct,
So like the process with the State Route 128 property,
right.
that
It
would make
just
that
helps
go
to
faster.
have a little bit
That's my understanding. It's just
Yeah.
going to help with, right.
moving things along. Moving things along.
As a matter of fact, one of the things, and just so you don't think that I'm really all that bright that I did all this myself, I pirated this from one of Brian Pacheco's other
Oh,
clients and
okay,
adjusted it
okay.
to meet our things. One of the things in here is, if you choose, it would give you broader powers to enforce zoning codes and other restrictions. Well, we don't have a zoning code, so
Yeah.
Right.
you're
so
not
that-
going to enforce
we're
it.
out.
Yeah.
And there have been people who have asked about petitioning the board for zoning. If someone wants to do that, they can always petition the board to put zoning on the ballot. So,
Any other questions?
I do not.
maybe after that first meeting, we can come up with a question and answer sheet.
Yeah, and like I said, it was just like when the Rumpke stuff first started, I have no problem with anybody sending me emails or whatever with any questions, and if I don't know the answer for sure, I will get the for sure answer, which, with the Rumpke thing, there was a lot of people that didn't like the answer I got them, but it ain't me I'm not making up the answer, it's just how it was, right? So, but I don't mind answering any of that
Well,
either, so.
We could start on the website, along with this fact sheet, we'll put a frequently asked questions page and post the questions and the answer to them and
Sure.
Yep.
add them, we have that vehicle for getting information out now.
All right, if there's nothing else on that, we don't have to make a motion for that date, right? We don't have to do that?
No.
Okay. Just-
Well, actually, because all three of you will be here, we'll have to set
You're
someone will
gonna
need
have
to
to-
move
you're
to
gonna
have a
have-
special meeting on that date between 5 and 7.
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we have a special meeting on, what was the date?
May
we said?
25th.
May 25th at
5 to 7.
5 to 7 p.m.
I'll second it. Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope,
Yay.
Mr. Shively,
Yay.
Mr. King.
Yay.
Okay. Moving on to new business, this is a resolution 2023-10. I'll read the whole resolution, but Jim can kind of explain what the resolution is for, and then I'll read the whole resolution.
So,
That's how you want to do it, isn't it?
yeah, because I've been the one who's been communicating with Mr. Pacheco about this. Just in a nutshell, we've had a couple executive sessions for the board to discuss this, but someone came to Mr. Pope a few months back and said, hey, I'm not able to find the right person to buy the old Miami Town School. I want to do something with it. Would the township be interested? So that kind of kicked the ball rolling, and Willie and I met with the property owner, talked with the Port Authority of Cincinnati. This actually happened initially while we were at the township conference. We talked to our attorney, talked to the Port Authority. They've worked with us since then, and we're at the point now where we can enter into an agreement for the Port Authority to acquire that property, and their holding company, I'm going to get the name right for the minutes, is the Hamilton County Land Revitalization Corporation. So what will happen is the Port Authority will take ownership of the property. They'll work with us to find a tenant, find someone to purchase the property, and put a business in there that we would like to see go there. Or if they can't find anybody who can work with the existing building, they're kind of first in line for state money to tear something down. So if it needs to be torn down, they'll get the funding for that. The way it would work is we come up with a sale price. All the fees have to be paid for, all the expenses they have. They're gonna maintain the building. They'll shut the utilities off. They're gonna have it mowed with their contractor. We offered them ours, but they already had theirs lined up. So it'll give us a little control over what goes in on that corner, so we can make sure that it's something that will move the community forward. And what is that, about a 12-page, 15-page agreement?
Yeah.
The reason we're at this point with the resolution is there was some wording that our council thought we couldn't do because of Ohio Attorney General guidelines. So we worked with them. There's a copy of an email that I added to your stuff tonight. Just got it back from them this afternoon, sent it to Mr. Pacheco. So what we're asking the board to do tonight is authorize the township administrator to enter into that agreement when he approves the language. So, in a nutshell, that's where we're at.
Any questions? I think it's a good thing.
Here's why I like the whole process of this, is because we get a say-so in kind of what's going on down. Instead of somebody just coming into Miami Town, taking that school, doing whatever they want. And we discussed this when it was all out there originally. Somebody's going to get this thing, and it's going to change the whole face of rolling into Miami Town. So this was a good thing. Thank you, and whoever, all you guys that worked on this. I had very little on this end of it. But I just think because I had little to do with it, it's a good thing because of exactly what you said. We get a little bit of control of, we're going to say, here's what we want. Nobody can just come in, and kind of happened down there in Hooven, the Hooven area, when before they redid the little restaurant bar there, the old Verling's Bell building, Chevron. This came up at a Chevron meeting. They wanted to put in where they would incinerate things, and Chevron said, no, we're not going to do that to Hooven or Whitewater Township. And then somebody ended up buying. Do you remember that conversation?
It wasn't incinerate things, it was incinerate people.
Oh, right.
It was a crematory.
Yeah, it's going to be a crematory, right. So they said no, and now there's a real business in there.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is the same concept
For
that
sure.
we're trying to do with the whole Miami Town thing.
I know once when I spoke to the former owner of the school, he wanted the easement for his property that's behind BP. Does he still have the right to that easement?
We're not getting the whole property. So
Right.
we'll get part of it from where the school is. He knows, he needs.
Yeah, he still has the strips that he needed for access to his
Okay.
property.
Okay.
So, and just because we've discussed it, we met with the property owners that own the property to the east of that property.
To the south, isn't it? And east, both,
South.
yeah.
Well, what we discussed, if you're familiar with the Miami Town area, is extending Front Street back to the owner of the Miamitown School also owns the property behind BP. He had a deal for a restaurant to go in there, and he had approval from ODOT to access that property. But it may not be the best access for everything, but he still has approval for a restaurant. His initial people dropped out, but he has approval for the same size traffic-wise there. But as we were looking at the school, it just made sense if you could just extend Front Street straight across through there. It would give better access to the school. We'd have to work with ODOT, and there can be some other stuff to work with ODOT on for the property, the old Damon property. We need to do this all at once. It'll give them frontage for all their property. We discussed with them that it would be something that would either be developer-driven or TIF fund-driven. So it's not going to be, we're not going to spend township funds, general funds, on putting a road in for other people to build on, but they were open to the idea of providing us that property.
I think it's a good thing because when you do something like that, that makes the property worth more, and it makes more desirable stuff to go in there rather than something that is.
So saying extending it to how far?
Well, there's nothing set in stone.
No.
It kind of would
Bas-
go
the-
back.
The basic concept was to,
Like where the trailer park was, right?
yeah,
Extend Front Street, just continue straight and
and put a cul-de-sac in basically at the
where the flea
end of-
market is.
Yeah, where the flea market is.
But they wouldn't be able to drive down Front Street and turn and go to BP?
There would have to be access somewhere in there too. They wouldn't, I don't know, right now the access to that flea market is through BP.
It is through
So
BP.
I don't know if the owner would keep that. I'm
the-
sure he'll keep it, but I don't know that he'll
The
leave that
owner of
open.
the flea market also has, right next to Wendy's, you'll notice there's a little, that is also access back into the flea market property. So he still has that, and the initial idea was to have right in off of 128 and then right out and come out on Front Street. So that, because otherwise you have to widen 128, put a light, it's very involved. So everything is just preliminary ideas at this point in time.
And the other nice thing about working with the Port Authority on this is, you know, ODOT can be difficult at times to work with, but the Port Authority works with them more than we do, so they're willing to work with us on this whole area concept. So there's going to be a lot to do with this, but
And the Port Authority was also, when Jim and I had our first meeting with them, they were very excited, in their words, excited to have the opportunity to work with us here in Whitewater Township because they felt that there's areas out here that they can help us with. And, help us with other properties. They can help with nuisance properties. They get grants for cleanup. But everything takes a lot of time legally to do. So, that's.
on a separate note, there is a hearing date set for the property on State Route 128 that everybody's been wanting to see cleaned up. So we're moving along with that, and they have indicated they would help with the cost of the cleanup on that. And we had a local business owner who stepped up and said that he might be able to help us with the cleanup and keep it under what they can spend, so we don't have to spend township funds on it. So unless they dump a whole lot of stuff in there between now and whenever we can actually get it.
Yeah, I noticed there was some activity there. It looked like they'd begun cleaning up some things, but
Well, they look like they were moving something around.
yeah,
Well, they're aware.
they had a fire going there, probably burning tires. And,
Something was pretty
Couches.
black burning on Saturday. I'm sure it was tires.
They're aware that the Port Authority is working with us on the property. There was a relative who was interested in it, but when they got the estimate on what the cleanup might cost, Seems like they may have lost some interest in that.
Yeah, that's it.
So this is going to work out good for Whitewater, good for the port.
Well, and it's gonna be the first thing we work with them with, right? I mean, this kind of deal.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we can just keep working. If it all goes smooth, it keeps going in the right direction.
So you want a motion on this
Yes.
resolution? I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution 2023-10.
I will second that motion.
Voice vote?
Mr. Pope,
Yay.
Mr. Shively,
Yay.
Mr. King.
Yay.
I will just mention that Mr. Pacheco sent me the wording for this, and I pirated the wording, and I left a reference to Columbia Township in it, so I will correct that, and you'll have to stop by and sign it sometime
That's
this week.
okay. I saw that, but move forward, yep.
Okay. Moving forward. As a new business. Any public comments? Any public comments? No executive session, unless you guys have something?
I do not.
Any comments from the board?
Pretty much covered all my comments in
I
the,
do not.
As we went along? Make a motion to,
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Wow.
Voice vote, please.
Mr. Pope,
Yay.
Mr. Shively,
Yay.
Mr. King.
Yay.